right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and I'm joined again with one of my co-hosts, Darian Smith. Again, if you are listening for the first time or missed last episode, our other co-host, Jimmy Marion, is taking a break, but he will be back soon. But Darian, we've got a really big game this Saturday for UAB as the UAB Blazers travel over to the Alamo Dome this Saturday night to take on the UTSA Roadrunners. That game time is set for 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and it will be televised on ESPNU. But before we get into previewing this game, we got to shout out to Patreon, patreon.com/blazerpod. For just $5 a month, you get access to all the exclusive content that we provide over on the Patreon, and that includes interview episodes and our after review series. I believe we've got about 33 episodes that we just started this Patreon in April, but definitely check it out if you have not already. Again, patreon.com/blazerpod. That includes multiple one-on-ones with head coach Trent Dilfer, with interviews from players, and again, our after review series. So tons of content on there. So please, UAB fans, do us a favor and subscribe to the Patreon by going to patreon.com/blazerpod. But Darian, let's just go ahead and get into it, man. Big game for the Blazers again this Saturday. And, we talked about in our instant reaction to the South Florida game, this is another opportunity for UAB to, kind of show everybody that they are for real and want to contend in this American Athletic Conference this Saturday. And what bigger stage to do it than, in the Alamo Dome and again on national television.
Yeah, another great opportunity for the Blazers. Just real quick, we will still have Jimmy's prediction at
Yes.
the end. So yeah,
Yeah.
we still got that. I know y'all want to hear that. So that's gonna be big. You're gonna like it. But yeah, it's another step. It's another building block. What we've seen from this team is and this staff is every week just getting better, just building. I always love to point back to that episode we had before the season, and we defined what success in this season would look like for us, and we always said it was going to be just improvement because we understood that the staff is new, completely new and young and fresh, and the players are very young. But I didn't even think that the amount of young players that we have were going to play as much as they did, like true freshmen,
Right.
on the offensive and defensive side, and they are out there and they are competing and they are balling, they are thriving, and so it's been amazing to see. We come in with a UTSA team um, that's been injured. I don't know I don't, of course, I'm not down there in San Antonio or did go to school at UTSA, but I don't know the extent of all the injuries. I know Frank Harris has been injured. I was looking at that Temple game, John, and I heard the announcer say he's had 3 surgeries this year.
My goodness.
This year, so man, he's been through surgery after surgery after surgery. He's getting it out. He's a warrior. We're all familiar with Frank Harris down at quarterback for UTSA. Um, and some names that we are familiar with Joshua Cephas, the amazing receiver that they have, number 2, I believe. No DeCorian Clark, um, no Zachary Franklin there. So the offense is not the same as what we're used to.
Right.
But they still have they still have other good receivers. Devin McCune is a true freshman. I don't know if he's a true freshman. I mean, he's a freshman. They have another playmaker. What's his name?
Oh, you talking
Uh,
about Tyke Oglekellogg, man? And he's 6'5", man. He is good, and he's made some plays. He's a senior. Didn't play a
He
lot
can get
last
down.
year.
He can get
He
downfield and
and he
make
can
plays
get
with
up
his
and
height.
get it. Yes, he can get up and get the ball. Yeah, and that's because of that 6'5". Yeah.
Yeah, he has that 6'5" frame, so he's kind of a big play threat. They still have their tight end,
Oh yeah,
Oscar Cardenas.
Cardenas. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
hey, we
but to
know
me,
about him already, don't we?
to me, he looks a little bigger to me this year. I don't know, and maybe that's a question for Jared, but he doesn't look as explosive to me.
See, and I'm planning on asking Jared. Yeah, and shout out to our, our friends over at Alamo Audible, Jared Kalmus and Adrian and Aaron. They do a fantastic job over there. But yeah, I am planning on asking him, and I know Jared's listening to this, so he does look a little heavier.
Yeah,
I
I was like,
mean,
bro, I
I
was
mean,
like,
I
when we
can't
played
talk, bro.
him,
Hey, I can't talk, but
hey, listen, when we played him, he's always been the big boy. That's why he's been such a great player. It's like, wow,
yeah.
he's such a athletic. But I don't know if I was tripping or not. I was like, hold on now, man. Like
Hey,
this
that
dude,
Temple game, dude, he looked really heavy. I said
that
so.
that jersey looked way too little for him. I'm like, man, there's no way that this dude can still be the same in explosiveness.
Mm-mm.
Admittedly, I haven't watched all of the UTSA games, so maybe I could be wrong. So offensively, I think they're a solid unit. I don't think they are the same UTSA that we've known from the past.
No, they're not. Now, I will peel back some. Like Frank Harris is still there. Um, he is one hell of a quarterback. You and I both know that. Jimmy knows that. Everybody listening to this podcast knows that. I know we've got a lot of UTSA fans listening into us. And before we go any further, you touched on it last episode, Darian, but I feel like we need to say this. Like there is a lot of mutual respect between UAB fans and UTSA fans, and I think even with the both of the coaching staffs too. So I do think our boy Muck on Twitter was saying that we need to get a rivalry trophy. Us and over at Blazer Victory and then Alamo Audible need to see about creating some type of rivalry name and a rivalry trophy for this game, and that would be that would be
That'll be
awesome
pretty
for
cool.
yes. But there's just so much respect between these programs, and this is only going to be the eighth time I believe that both of these programs have squared off on the football field. Now UAB does lead that all-time series 4-3 heading into this game, but I mean, there's no hate with us and
No,
UTSA.
and
Like,
and 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 the last two times they kicked our ass,
hey,
right?
it came
So
down to the wire, but they sure did, yeah.
they was the one that beat us. So who are we to act like South Florida fans here,
Oh,
right?
hey, no, yeah, and it's funny you say that because I was talking with Jared right after the game, and he was like, "You got to, y'all got to witness those South Florida fans on Twitter," and I said, "Oh my gosh, we definitely got to witness that."
The craziest fan base of all time. So
Oh,
I never act like that towards them. But
mm-mm.
I want people to go back and listen. I always just kind of what I feel, and I could be. I'm not a coach. I'm not a scout. Listen, I thought we had a chance. I was kind of scared going into that Georgia Southern game, but I thought we had a chance to beat Georgia Southern, and they
Yeah,
put it on us. But we're a totally different team now than we were then. We've been building a lot, but I still was wrong. So, but from what I see, like offensively from them, I don't know, and this is my opinion, and this is something that Jared, that you'll be able to kind of talk with him and see what his opinion on it. But he can only say so much. But
yeah,
because that's his team that he's rooting, they're rooting for, just like we'll put a spin on from Jacob Zeno if something was happening. But he does not look as spry to me because he's
mm-mm.
been banged up so much. Like he still can run, but they don't want to run him as much, and he's not explosive as he. Frank Harris used to put the fear of God in me. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God, we got to face this dude again. Like, oh no, like he has this
right.
air, his this air of confidence to him. It's kind of like, oh man, like he's gonna make the right decision. He's just in crunch time. You just feel like he's got this captain feel to him, to where he's just gonna make the right decision, whether it's with his arm or legs, and he was just scary. But I I just think he's really not 100% healthy, or maybe he's not going to be able to physically hit the levels that he was at because he's been injured and had so many procedures to get right.
Yeah.
He's still a good player, but he does not scare me, John, like he used to in the past years, and which is weird because most of the time players progress and get better. And I think he's a better player. Just his ceiling has been limited due to his injuries. That's what I see from him
Yeah.
on film.
No, I mean that's a very fair assessment. And I think, I mean, I don't know Frank Harris, and we don't cover him, but I mean, on film, he does not look 100%. Even that Temple game, I mean, he still had a hell of a game, 25 of 33, three TDs, 338 yards, but he just doesn't scare you like he has, even last year, heading into the matchup at Protective that we, had with UTSA. Like, I think Frank is probably about 85 percent there. But I'll tell you also, but you talk about the fear of God. I mean, Frank Harris, that offensive line in front of him, he looks like right when he gets the ball, man, there are already folks in the backfield, and I know that. This has been almost a common thing with UTSA the last couple years. Like they struggle with health on their offensive line, like having to shuffle around. Like they had a
Are they
defensive
going through
tackle.
that again
They are,
this
man,
year?
and they're still trying to figure it out. Now, granted, UTSA fans listening might be like, "Well, isn't UAB trying to figure it out on their offensive line?" I mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't know what's up with that strength and conditioning staff, like at UTSA under
I mean,
Jeff Traylor. Like,
sometimes it just happen that way. Like it ain't the fault of anybody. Sometimes you can't help if somebody roll up on your ankle or your knee go the wrong way, or I mean,
yeah,
it just happened to be, especially playing offensive line. You get rolled up. That's why a lot of times you wear those knee braces. You get rolled up on so easy with people running behind you. But I remember last year. Now I remember Jared saying this on Twitter. He was saying that it wasn't as bad as it was last year. Last year it was horrible. It
oh yeah,
wasn't like
yeah,
it was like ridiculous. Like, come on, man. Like, come on.
yeah.
But I didn't know they were going through the same thing this year.
Now, granted though, they did just come off of their bye week, so I do think that the bye week helped UTSA. Now, of course, they faced off Temple last week, but they had the bye week before they entered conference play. So I really do think the bye week gave them some time to rest up and also kind of get that O line straightened out a little bit. But I mean, Temple doesn't scare me at all, and they were kind of able to get pressure at some points in the game on Frank Harris.
Yeah, kind of later
Um,
on in the game, Temple, like
yeah,
they were locking Temple up. Honestly, as far as pass protection, that's why I was like, bro, this dude jersey is clean. That's why he can make these throws. Like he can.
right.
But toward the end of the game, though, they finally start getting some kind of pressure. But they didn't have any explosiveness on Temple's defensive line. But
Yeah.
the other teams did, though.
Hey, you look at that Texas State film. Now throw out the Tennessee film. We're not even going to talk about that. But you
Uh,
look at you pop on that Texas State film,
and
and
Houston,
and Houston, yes, and even Army got after him some. Well, no, actually, no, he didn't play in the Army game, but they got after the backup quarterback. But
right?
I mean, you look at the Texas State, yeah, and Houston. My goodness, they got after him, and I think, he's so Frank Harris has thrown. How many interceptions has he thrown for the year? He hasn't thrown many. I think three. Yeah, three.
I think he probably threw because he hasn't played that much, but
Didn't
I
he
think
throw
he
all
back
three of them at Houston?
in the Houston.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember watching that game like,
yeah.
oh my god, this is not the Frank Harris that I know. Like, what is going on?
Right. It's like he's doing too much or trying too much, for himself to win ball games. And I mean, I know they don't have Zachary Franklin anymore, but you still got some studs. I mean, you've got Cephas, we went over them earlier. So, but all that to say, yes, UAB, they're going to be a underdog at UTSA this Saturday. Right now, Vegas has it. It's creeping 10. Like it's creeping UTSA 10-point favorite. Right now, it's a UTSA 9.5-point favorite over UAB. It's kind of borderline
That-
swinging to 10. So obviously, Vegas and everybody else kind of likes UTSA in this matchup, Darren. But when you put on that film, like if UAB's defense can play, improve from the South Florida game, and if that secondary plays as well as they did on man coverage against South Florida, if that defensive front gets after Frank Harris, UAB could and should get a dub this Saturday in the Alamo Dome.
I'm gonna put it like this: like UAB, I don't think people don't when Vegas lines and they just all these people and they just look and say, oh, UAB is 2-4,
Mm-hmm.
and look, they got beat down by Louisiana, right? Nobody really cares about context, but the truth of it is that we had a brand new coaching staff that that's very inexperienced. Almost all of our main coordinators and our head coach, as far as when it comes to the college level of coaching. We had so many brand new faces. We had everything was brand new. Schemes, everything. Players, personnel, staff, right? Most of those guys are younger as returning. We lost Jalen Key to the portal. We lost Tuazama. We lost Debo Starling. We lost all of our linebackers and all of our offensive line. Like we were replacing everything was brand new. So the Louisiana game was our rock bottom. It was an aha moment. We was trying out this new scheme, this man. We throw that whole team away. After that Louisiana
Mm-hmm.
game, we came in with a whole new scheme and we started using whole new personnel. The first day we started using that was the Georgia game. So basically, NCAT, Georgia Southern, and Louisiana, it's like two different seasons already.
It
So
is, yeah.
so if you taking part that all of that was going on, we're trying to figure out everything. Even Coach Dilfer himself said how he had to get back to himself. He had to find himself. Everything was new. So when we got down to that Georgia game, I think that was affirmation. We tried everything new. We start switching personnel. We start playing freshmen. That was the revelation of Amari Thomas. Guess what? We was playing
Mm-hmm.
Marquand Mary, but like we start playing all of these new faces, and everybody responded. So all of a sudden we repeated Tulane like, we may have something. Let's try this again. And then we almost pulled that game out. Then it was like, you know what? This actually works. Let's try this again. Matter of fact, we're gonna switch this guy out. We're gonna switch this guy out. Matter of fact, whoever practiced the best, whoever keep on coming in and they put in, that's who we're gonna play. And they did just that. They have not been BSing on that. They will switch a guy out of starting lineup. And a lot of times it's been younger guys like A Train that came in. Adam Lepowski came in at right guard. That's another redshirt freshman on as a right guard that came in the other game, and he played awesome. So now it's like, well, Iman Smalls, like you get in there, we play a lot more. He did awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have all of these young guys, so all of a sudden it's like our trajectory in the team that we have. All that to say is this is different from UTSA's situation. Our situation, we've been finding out who we can play, a lot of new faces, etc. UTSA, on the other hand, is a veteran-led team. Like they know what they have, the coaches, everything, continuity. That's what made them coming in so scary because everybody's so familiar with the scheme and the system, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
But what happens when that ceiling that you guys are supposed to hit? What happens when you can't quite reach it with the veteran team? That's kind of like us last year, right? That's kind of how I
Yeah.
see them. Us last year, we had all this hype and all these veterans. This is the best, most talented UAB team. And then once we realized we couldn't shift to one gear, it was kind of like, oh, we didn't have another gear to go. Like we are who we are.
Right.
This year, it's like we got a brand new car, right? And we just had to figure out how to use it. But even in figuring out how to use it, we was like, damn, we're going pretty fast. That we're going pretty fast, but we haven't hit the gear that we're close to because so many dudes are still learning how to play football. right? They're learning how to play college football, but they're getting in and they're doing a damn good job with understanding what the capacity that they have now.
All
Georgia
right.
and Tulane helped us grow up so much. And then South Florida was affirmation of the hard work we put in. This
Yes.
is this will be a major building block. So I see two different trajectories as of right now. All that to say is like don't look at those Vegas lines and everything. But if you're familiar with who we are as UAB fans, you should know TSA right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I I just think it's funny that we're kind of at where we're at, and they kind of remind me of us last year. Now I could be totally wrong. They could be fired up and they could beat us to death when we go down there Saturday. But that is just from what I've seen, the information that I've gathered from watching film on both teams. That's what I see, John.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair viewpoint of at least both of these two teams so far halfway through the year. I look at this UTSA game and I say, for UAB to get out of the Alamo Dome with a win, I think UAB is going to have to on offense continue to run the ball, continuing that momentum from the South Florida game where UAB ran it the best that they have by far this season. Can UAB and that offensive line continue against a very stout UTSA defensive front? I mean, this UTSA team, you take out the Tennessee game, and you could argue take out the Army game because I mean that's triple option and flex bone stuff. But I mean, they they allowed less than 100 yards rushing from Texas State, a pretty decent Texas State Sun Belt team. Like, can UAB and hey, but that's granted, when we head into this when we were headed into the South Florida game, we said UAB would have to run the ball. They got a little better at Tulane. They really got it done this past Saturday at South Florida, but can you do it again in the Alamo Dome against a stout defensive front? I think they can. And you've got a star quarterback, Jacob Zeno, returning to San Antonio, a San Antonio native. He's going to want to show out. So I I really do like UAB's chances this Saturday, Darian. And on the flip side, you look at the defense. What are they UAB on defense going to have to do to stop Frank Harris and that offense? Now, number one, you're going to have to stop their run game. That's something that killed UAB last year in last year's matchup. You go back and look at Barnes. Let's see how many yards. Kavorian Barnes. I mean, he had over 100 yards rushing, 114 yards on 16 carries and a TD. So we love to, focus on Frank Harris, focus on those wide receivers like Cephas. But if you can't stop their run game, then they're gonna, knife and death, to death. So it's gonna be a long game. So if UAB can stop the run, which they did a really good job with against South Florida, then allow the UAB secondary to just run some man coverage, maybe a safety over the top, maybe not. But if you can just allow man coverage, I think UAB, if they played the way they did this past Saturday against South Florida, can definitely have a chance to win this ball game Saturday night in the Alamo Dome.
Yeah, so what I would do, I would kind of bracket and be aware of where Cephas is lined up
Yes.
and kind of have safety kind of help over top because I do believe he's a special player, and I do think that sometimes we can get away one on one coverage with him. But if we could, I would try to make sure that we have safety help there. But I think the rest of the receivers, I think we can man those guys. I think we saw against USF the type of quality cornerbacks that the play that I've been expecting all year. I think we
Yeah.
finally got that. So I think we can man the rest of those guys and live with the results, whatever they may be. We may have some good, we may have some bad, but I take that, and so we can stop that running game, and we can put more towards the running game and focus on the running back versus the quarterback here. Even though Frank Harris can still run the ball, we do need to be cognizant. They're not going to want to. He's not as explosive as he used to be. Secondly, I don't think that's in his best interest. I don't. I think they
Yeah.
want to limit. I think they want to limit the hits on him as much as possible. So again, this is another game to where, and they don't go as fast as I think we had play it a little bit more vanilla against South Florida because they go so fast, but we still got creative in the way that we rush with twist
Yes.
and we were real active up front. Um, I think we can heat. I don't think Frank Harris does well against pressure, honestly. So I think, but I would say this versus Temple, that offensive line really kept his jersey clean.
Yeah.
Um, now it is like versus like we said, Texas State and Houston. It was a different story. I would People could say, "Oh, look at that! Look at we can get after them," but then it can be the other side of this is just like us. It's like our offensive line has grown and found our way.
Mm, right.
Maybe that was them growing and finding their way. Maybe they are that good. Are they? I don't know. I'll test it. I definitely would. I say, man, we finna get to him by all means. Make him throw dimes is what I would do under pressure. I'm not letting you sit back there and be clean like you was against Temple. I'm gonna try to make you. I don't think you're as explosive as you used to be. I'm gonna make you run. I'm gonna make you outrun Jackson Bratton. I don't think you can. I don't think you can outrun Desmond Little. But I'm gonna flush him. I'm gonna make him uncomfortable. That's what I would do, and I'll make sure I have help over Cephas now. Um, Now their defense, I do think it's one player on their defense that really pops out to me, and that's Trey Moore, number one, the edge rusher
Yeah.
linebacker that they have. I think he's really a dude. Like he catches my eye. The short
Hey, and
amount,
he's been dinged up as well though.
right? The short amount of time he was out at the Temple game, he played at the Temple game before he went out with the injury, but he did eventually return that game. But he was making moves like individually. You can see how he sheds block. He's a quick decision maker. He's aggressive. He has really good skill. But if he's dinged up and he's not 100% or afraid to mess up his ankle or something, that really hurts them. I feel like because I think he's their only dude. I think the rest of like the linebackers and the D line, I think they're good players. They don't. It's not like Tulane.
Mm-mm.
It's not like Tulane. It's not like Georgia. It's Georgia. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, we played. I mean, South Florida up front, they weren't slouches. Like
Yeah, they
South
weren't
Florida,
bad. Yeah.
South Florida's front seven was pretty decent. It's their back end that wasn't that good. But South Florida wasn't, and we blocked them pretty well. And we've already been against Tulane and Georgia, so I'm. I think now what they do though, like when I was watching that Temple game, is they send all kinds of looks at you. The
Yeah.
thing I'm thankful for the Temple game is they had to show a lot, and they showed a lot defensively, all kinds of exotic blitzes. I appreciate a defensive coordinator that's not afraid to mix it up. But South Florida did the same thing against us, and we burnt their ass.
Yeah.
We I'm not sure if we're the team to do that against us. Zeno, if we go empty or we got Skull coming out the backfield, that running back from Temple, who was a pretty good player, he caught the ball on them so much. You blitz us like that, and you let Skull get out in the open field. Good luck, right?
Mm,
So
right.
I don't know if Senate knows all of those type of blitzes is the smart thing to do against us. I think we have the playmakers to take it 60 yards to the house. If you don't get there, it's almost a touchdown for sure. I feel like too many weapons. Um, I would. It, this is almost feels just like the South Florida game to me, to
It kind of
where
does. Yeah.
defense, like their defense, to me, I think they're pretty decent with one special player and Trey Moore, but I think they're pretty decent in their front seven. Like they can stop run, they can get pressure on you. I, Again, I'm just going by what I saw. Their defensive backfield is not the caliber I'm used to with UTSA. UTSA,
No, not at
they
all.
they are not good on the back end. I think they are opportunists. Like if you make a mistake, they'll intercept you. I think they'll do that. But as far as like just solid coverage, I I don't see it, John. I don't.
Well, real quick on Darren, on that note, do you know that they have not forced one interception so far this year? Now, I'm knocking on wood and crossing my fingers, but they have not forced one interception in that secondary this year.
Oh, they didn't get one. Oh well, the one against
No.
Temple,
Well,
it would have been a pick
they
six,
had
but it got called back.
they actually had I think they had yeah they had that pick six, but it got called back for I can't remember what it was, but and then they also had they either had one or the guy dropped it, but there were a couple close calls. But I remember rewatching the Temple game, and the announcer said it. You know, this is their first forced interception all year, and I said, "What?" And I went back and looked at the stats, and he was right, but there was some laundry on the field that brought that back. So they have not forced an interception so far this year, and it is ironic that you say that though, like about South Florida, because South Florida was really good up front, and their what was their weakness? The back end, their secondary. And you look at this UTSA team on film, and it's kind of like a mirror image. Like the front is really good, but their back is not good, and they can't tackle well, which is so weird to talk about a Jeff Traylor UTSA team. Um,
And then I think we got to this is just me being me here, and this is not a reflection of John. I think we got two different views of really good. I don't. To me, Tulane was really good. When I put on that film, when I put on the film, that front seven, Tulane was really that deal. Like it wasn't just hype. I was like, oh snap! Look
yeah,
at
now they're
look
the
at look
best
at
in
this.
the league up front. Yeah, no,
Man, it was noticeable, and they ate our lunch when we was down there. Like they gave us problems. We fought back, but those guys were really that. And people were saying this about USF, like, oh, look at the stats, they're doing it. I'm like, well, I'm looking at the film though, right? Like, I'm not saying that they are bad. They were not bad, but I'm saying that these dudes, we can block these dudes. And this is the same thing I'm saying about this squad. Like, we can run the ball on them. It depends on what look they give us. If we are spread out and they got six in the box, five in the box, shove it right down their throats. They're not gonna be. They
hmm
can't just control us with what they got. They're not. They're not Tulane. Like, and we was able to have some success against Tulane, and that's when we didn't even have the line that we have now. We got even. I think we got more cohesiveness with the players that we have out there now.
yeah.
So again, I'm gonna say they're above average. I'm just hesitant to say really good. I think we faced two units that's been really good, and that's Georgia and that's Tulane up front. I think I'll give them good, I guess. Like I think South Florida was good though, but it won't be reflected because we put up this amount of points and had this amount of rushing attempts. But that it doesn't negate what film shows. I just think that we showed up to play, right?
Right.
So yeah, I know that was long winded about really good, but yeah, that's just how I feel on that.
Hey, no, hey, speak your mind, man. Hey, I love it. Yeah, and I mean, maybe I shouldn't say really good, but you've kind of talked me down to just good, but I'll stick to what I said earlier. Should we get into predictions?
Uh, have anything else to talk about with that?
Oh,
Oh yeah,
crowd noise. Hey, with the dome, does that worry you at all, or do you think playing at Georgia, and playing at Tulane recently will help that?
yeah, man. We played at Georgia. We played at Tulane. Um, and those guys didn't flinch.
Yeah.
And so why would we flinch now? That doesn't make any sense to me. So as a player myself, like I think more so the fans made more of a deal about like the crowd and going into intense environment. Bro, when you playing football, I didn't give a damn about none of that. I thought it was
Right.
so cool when we played Tennessee and the ground was shaking. I was like, oh, we was going into double overtime, and then they
Mm-hmm.
got really loud as a center. I was laughing like, wow, this is really cool. That's all I thought.
Nice.
It didn't rattle me or anything like this. So yeah, like that doesn't mean anything to me. But one thing you did mention, you did say like Army ran like triple option, whatever, but they do, they do they stuff out of the gun now.
Yeah, they've kind of evolved. Yeah, so it wasn't a very, a traditional,
Right. They ran the
under
ball
center. Yeah.
out of the gun on them and they got movement. Like they were moving those guys off the ball. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. Admittedly, I didn't watch that whole game. I watched like almost into halftime.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys were surging off the ball, and those guys, their offensive line was getting movement. So that was all I needed to see, honestly. Like, okay, yeah, that's all I
Yeah.
was looking for. Can their O line push their D line? And I saw that they could. And man, and maybe in the second half they got right and whooped Army's offensive line. But yeah, that's what I saw. So, but
Nice.
yeah.
Well, we are running a little long. We're about 36 minutes, so let's go ahead and give our
Oh shoot.
prediction. Should we start with Jimmy's
Uh,
or
nah,
save his for last?
we're gonna save his. We always save his.
That's right.
So what you got?
Well, all right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and give mine. Hey, I said UAB was going to get it done last week for the first time in a couple weeks, and they got it done. I think UAB gets it done again this week, 35-28 over the UTSA Roadrunners. Darren, what you say?
Look at you, man. We was kind of around the same area. I got UAB 37, UTSA 30.
Nice. Jimmy's
And you want?
official prediction. Let me. You want to? Or do you got it up?
Oh, you got you
Okay,
got it,
I got
man.
it.
Drum roll.
All right. Here's Jimmy the Man Marion. You know he's never wrong. This is quote my zero research prediction is UAB 44, UTSA 38. The flip from last year's score. That would be awesome. This is a big time game for Zeno coming back to San Antonio in the return game to his hometown. So he thinks UAB gets it done. So how about that? All three of us predict UAB to get the dub. And hey, just a reminder to UAB fans, I am going to be out of town, but I am bringing my lucky UAB hat, which I did wear for the first time since the NCAT game last week, and it worked against South Florida. We've got Baby Hampton is here, turning this
Baby
season around.
hydrogen,
Baby
H2
Hydrogen.
hydrogen.
So hey, let's keep it rolling. You know, UAB, time to make another statement. Go to 2-1 in AAC play. Get it done in the Alamo Dome. Darian and I, maybe Jimmy, we got to talk to him and see. We'll be back for an instant reaction episode following the UTSA game. It'll be late at night, but we'll have our instant reaction here on the free feed. But of course, pay attention to the Patreon, patreon.com/blazerpod for all the interviews and after review segments. You know, we're going to have Jared Kalmus from the Alamo Audible on probably Thursday morning or Friday morning. I hadn't decided yet. But Darian, go ahead and close us out until then.
Yeah, and just a reminder, we do all these predictions, but the players have to go play the game so we can go out there and
Yes.
lay a complete egg and be right back into bewilderment. Unless the players embrace getting better each day, because if they didn't get better today if they aren't getting better tomorrow, then we're getting worse.
Hey man,
So
it's the turnaround, man. That's what we said. It's the turnaround.
right,
This.
but they have to prove that. All right, we got that one win. Are you smelling yourself? Are you smelling
Mm,
yourself, or are you looking at things you did wrong and seeing what you can get better at? That's what
good
I'm gonna be
point.
looking for. If we go out there Saturday, we watch this game Saturday night, and we kind of see some of these old habits popping back up. I'm be like, we didn't get better. We
Yeah.
didn't get better, So we'll see. I'm anxious Saturday because if we go out there half stepping, feeling ourselves, thinking that, oh, look at us, I'm used to the steam now. Like they're gonna beat our tail.
Yeah, they're gonna get steamrolled. But hopefully, you know, the vibes are, you know, hey, to keep improving. It seems to be in the building that, you know, Trent and staff and the players have the mindset that, you know, they instantly went back and watched the film for the South Florida film or watched the film and they're like, hey, coach, we could have gotten 20 more points, you know, or we could have done this. So it seems we're hearing, you know, at least early on in the week that they have the mindset. But yeah, like Darian
Sure,
said, you got to,
where are you gonna be able to talk to Trent and see, or would that be in the Patreon feeds coming up?
that will be on the Patreon feed. So it actually, you know, since this is dropping Wednesday morning, it would have been in their feed Tuesday morning. So guys, if you don't know, we record this Monday night,
Oh,
but yeah, it is in their feed. So hey, patreon.com/blazerpod. Listen to it.
yeah. So yeah, if I know that it's already dropped, but if you haven't signed up, go back and listen to the interview. I'm anxious to see what was said, even though this is weird because it's like a weird Disney time lapse thing. But
Right.
but yeah,
Feel like a
like
Star Wars movie, man.
right, like I'm watching Loki. But yeah, like go and check it out and see. I think it's worth it. John's all of his interviews with Trent they're very genuine and authentic. I don't think you get a lot of coach speak or anything like that. I think it's a different field. John has a good relationship with Trent. And I think it shows through in the interview. So I believe that's worth the $5 a month. I guess you go ahead and close them out. I
Yeah,
know
you'll
we
toss
going
it
over.
back
I
to me
keep
yet.
talking.
All right, let's wrap this up. All right, guys, we'll be back on the free feed for instant reaction after the UTSA game. But as always, go Blazers, and it's the turnaround. Beat UTSA.